Chapter 1 An Unplanned Journey. Read this extract from the classic adventure novel Around the World in 80 Days. Read how Phileas Fogg decides to set out on a world tour with his newly appointed attendant. Having won 20 guineas at the club and taken leave of his friends, Phileas Fogg, at 25 minutes past 7, left the Reform Club. Passepartout, who had carefully studied the program of his duties, was more than surprised to see his master guilty of appearing at this unusual hour. According to rule, he was not due in Savile Row until precisely midnight. Mr. Fogg went to his bedroom and called out,
"Passepartout!"
Passepartout did not reply. It could not be he who was called. It was not the right hour.
"Passepartout!"
repeated Mr. Fogg, without raising his voice. Passepartout made his appearance.
"I've called you twice,"
observed his master.
"But it is not midnight,"
responded the other, showing his watch.
"I know it. I don't blame you. We start for Dover and Calais in 10 minutes.
A puzzled grin spread over Passepartout's round face. Clearly, he had not understood his master.
"Monsieur is going to leave home?"
"Yes,
returned Phileas Fogg.
we are going round the world."
Passepartout opened his eyes wide, raised his eyebrows, held up his hands, and seemed about to collapse. So overcome was he with astonishment.
"Round the world?"
he murmured.
"In 80 days.
Responded Mr. Fogg.
So we haven't a moment to lose."
"But the trunks?"
asked Passepartout.
"We'll have no trunks, only a carpet bag, with 2 shirts and 3 pairs of stockings for me, and the same for you. We'll buy our clothes on the way, bring down my mackintosh and travelling cloak, and some stout shoes, though we shall do little walking. Make haste!"
Passepartout tried to reply, but could not. He went out and fell into a chair. He muttered,
"That's good, that is. And I, who wanted to remain quiet."
He mechanically set about making the preparations for departure. Around the world in 80 days. Was his master a fool? No. Was this a joke, then? They were going to Dover. Good. To Calais. Good again. After all, Passepartout, who had been away from France 5 years, would not be sorry to set foot on his native soil again. Perhaps they would go as far as Paris, and it would be good to see Paris once more. By 8 o'clock, Passepartout had packed the carpet bag containing the garments of his master and himself. Then, still troubled, he carefully shut the door of his room and came down. Mr. Fogg was quite ready. Under his arm might have been observed a red-bound copy of Bradshaw's Continental Railway Steam Transit and General Guide, with its timetables showing the arrival and departure of steamers and railways. He took the carpet bag, opened it, and slipped into it a goodly roll of currency notes.
"You have forgotten nothing?"
asked he.
"Nothing, monsieur."
"My mackintosh and cloak?"
"Here they are."
"Good. Take this carpet bag.
Handing it to Passepartout.
Take good care of it, for there are 20,000 pounds in it."
Passepartout nearly dropped the bag, as if the 20,000 pounds were in gold, and weighed him down. Master and man then descended. The street door was double-locked, and they took a cab, which stopped before the railway station at 20 minutes past 8. Passepartout jumped off the box and followed his master, who paid the cabman and was about to enter the station. A poor beggar woman, with a child in her arms, her naked feet smeared with mud, her shoulders covered in a ragged shawl, approached and asked for alms. Mr. Fogg took out the 20 guineas he had just won at cards, and handed them to the beggar, saying,
"Here, my good woman, I'm glad that I met you."
and passed on. Passepartout was teary-eyed as his master's action touched his heart. 2 first-class tickets for Paris were speedily purchased. Mr. Fogg was crossing the station to the train when he saw his 5 friends from the Reform Club.
"Well, gentlemen,"
Said he.
"I'm off, you see, and if you will examine my passport when I get back, you will be able to judge whether I have accomplished the journey agreed upon."
"Oh, that would be quite unnecessary, Mr. Fogg.
Said Ralph politely.
We will trust your word as a gentleman of honor."
You do not forget when you are due in London again?
Asked Stuart.
"In 80 days, on Saturday, the 21st of December, 1872, at 8:45 p.m. Goodbye, gentlemen."
Phileas Fogg and his servant seated themselves in a first-class carriage at 20 minutes before 9. 5 minutes later, the whistle screamed, and the train slowly rolled out of the station. The night was dark, and a fine, steady rain was falling. Phileas Fogg did not open his lips. Passepartout, still shocked, held onto the carpet bag with its enormous treasure. Just as the train was rushing, Passepartout suddenly uttered a cry of despair.
"What's the matter?"
Asked Mr. Fogg.
Alas, in my hurry, I forgot
"What?"
to turn off the gas in my room.
"Very well, young man.
Returned Mr. Fogg coolly.
It will burn at your expense."